Hello and welcome to HPTV, the podcast where we talk about Harry Potter on TV. The big news, we got bizarrely out of nowhere a half-hour making of special. What are we, 8 months before the series comes out? And so it was on HBO Max. It was about 30-minute runtime. It had interviews galore. It was narrated by our new Hagrid. What was a big takeaway? Is there anything that got you guys excited, made you emotional? What was like the big thing you took from their making of?
I mean, for me, I'll just say it's like the frequency of material coming out. We got the trailer, like a teaser and the picture a week and a half ago, and then all of a sudden we get this. Like, I'm like, what comes next? Like, what are we doing, 2 weeks from now? Because I hope they keep it coming. But it was cool. I liked it a lot. It was awesome to be able to see a lot of the scenery, get a peek at some of the, learn a little bit about the casting of the Golden Trio. So that's what I love. But mostly it just gets me excited for like, are they going to keep up this pace for the next, 8 months till we get to Christmas? Because I'd be okay with that.
Just release one episode a month at this point, If they
This
can get the
half-hour
VFX done. Yeah.
They do a whole nother special on that. I will say, I felt like it was a little bit of a response to like a lot of concerns people of the series, or a lot of the like, why are they doing this when we already have the movies? There was this really big, like, nostalgic push of like, my dad worked on the movies. I worked on the movies. I read the books with my son. There's big people who have a connection and love this series, which I think is great and I love it. But I felt like it felt very composed and pushed in that way. I did cry a lot during it. It is really cool to see it all come to life in a different way. And although it's not how I imagined it, I also imagined this as a child. So how the hell are you going to capture that? Everyone has their own kind of idea of what they saw in the world. But I appreciate like the thought that's going into it. And it is kind of cool because the first movies were made really during the books, pretty much on the tail. I mean, yes, a few years later of like the first book coming out. And so the love and all that built up kind of with the books and movies in their own way together. But now it's people really reflecting back on that and making that world what it is.
Yeah, you have people who have such a long relationship with the material now making the material, and that does make a difference. It did surprise me how many of the production people seem to have worked on the original or have parents or friends, family. And it's not, even though they produce a lot of movies here, it's not the biggest place. You only have so many people capable of doing the creature mechanics and everything. So it doesn't surprise me, but hopefully they get to make it their own. It's something we've sat with for years. And we kind of talked early on that the foreshadowing is going to be different because we know where we're going. It's not just that J.K. Rowling told the producers how it's going to end. It's like we've had this ending for decades now. And one of the big things is, from the outside, just we've gotten a trailer in this back to back. Like they're kind of trying to telegraph like, hey, we're working really hard. We're doing this right. I don't know what else can they put. Obviously there will be another trailer at some point closer to. Maybe they do another one of these, but this did feel so soon. And why so close to the trailer? It's
I think
wild.
they're trying to build a mix.
They're showing that they're trying to show that they're doing the work, build the excitement, capable of going. And to me, I'm seeing positives. Before we kind of we'll go category by category through everything. Did you guys see any negative reaction to the trailer? I'll start with one. People are just like, oh, it looks a little too dark and gritty, which we did kind of discuss. One, something may have been intentional. That's also somewhat fixable in post, but I didn't think it was that dramatic. But I wonder if there's going to now next time be an emphasis on some of the playfulness, some of the whimsy, because it seemed not gritty might not be the word, but it did seem slightly dark. But it's because it's trying to inject this importance, right? Like hearing the HBO, the screen fuzz turning on, and then that sound, that to me, I think of Game of Thrones because we didn't have HBO mostly growing up. So even though for other people it's probably associated with, I don't know, Sopranos or Sex and the City or whatever, to me it is a Game of Thrones thing. Like it does have a signature of epicness. So I feel like they're trying to inject that. But did you guys see any other negative reaction to the trailer or any reaction you wanted to comment on?
I haven't seen reactions to this yet. I actually haven't, because it was Easter. So I watched this and then went to bed and woke up and rewatched it just so I could take notes and stuff for the podcast. But the trailer, I will say a lot of people thought that it felt like we kind of talked about, that it was more targeted towards adults. I do see what they were trying to do in the trailer. They're trying to tell a story, this sad kid who's abused and then he goes to a magic school, and you do see some more fun moments in the trailer, but it just, that beginning feels so heavy, which it is. And again, we talked about there's not a lot of magic in the trailer, and people did comment on that as well. I saw some of that, but I don't think the magic's all probably ready yet completely. And I think it is more like, especially after watching this Finding Harry special, it's like more immersed in the world. It's the little things you see that they don't have time to show in the trailer. So I saw some of that. I've seen some people that just are like, oh, this just isn't for me. But I've also seen a lot of people being like, this looks really good. I'm probably going to watch it.
Well, one of the other things I saw is, and this has kind of been a criticism from the beginning, why are they doing it so soon? Which, yes, in all practicality, it is too soon. But it is a very different version because they're going to let it, that was the big quote from John Lithgow. We get to let it breathe. We get to let it go into the details. This is really early on in the special. And that's absolutely true. And they're kind of going into the details we didn't see. And they're even going into details that are not in the books, which, well, let's see how it goes. See what nitpicks that we have. But I was like, if you're an actual fan of Harry Potter, it doesn't look like the movies. It just doesn't. If you're, maybe we overthink it, but I'm like, people who saw this are like, it's the same thing all over again. I'm like, well, I'm a nerd, and let me tell you, it's brand new. Get out of here.
Well, it's true. I don't think it's too soon. A lot of people did say that, like, why does this even exist? We already have the movies. Like, why are they recreating it? And I mean, it's been 25 years since the first movie came out, right? Like,
we've had 3 iterations of Spider-Man in this time.
I was just going to say that we get a new reboot of a Spider-Man every 5 years or whatever it is now. So we're due for a new one, actually. I guess if you count Into the Spider-Verse, that we do have another one going. But yeah, no, I think, and this is a chance to do it very differently. So I think that was the part, was people are they question why they're even doing it. And there's a couple of answers. I think one of those is money, because they know that there's a whole bunch of millennial Potter nerds who are gonna do it and pay for it and buy all kinds of crap that they're gonna make for this merch-wise, because I know I'm one of them. But I think the other is, it's a second chance to kind of take another swing and get all of the important book highlights in there that we missed before, and then some. I do kind of wonder how much of the extra stuff they're adding in is like from Rowling's notes from when she first wrote the book, an idea she has, or how much of it they're just coming up with on their own, because that worries me a little bit when I think about Game of Thrones, right? It's because they had the material, and then when it came to them kind of extrapolating their own stuff, that's where it went off the rails and got kind of weird.
But so at least they have a finished product.
They do. You're right. They have the full arc. They know where it goes. But how lost are we going to get in the lives of the teachers and stuff and miss that core story or something? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think I think the lives of teachers are only going to be showing things we know happened and giving us a different perspective that are leading to the same things. Like, I don't think that they're going to start a full other. Like, we know that there was more to some of these characters' backstories or what they were doing, and I think it's going to need to directly apply to Harry. I cannot imagine they're going to be like, well, let's show this mission that maybe they'll show Hagrid, going on his little giant mission, but I don't think they're going to be like, well, let's see what Kingsley Shacklebolt was up to on the 4th of October, 1992,
Well, and that's, I think, is the last thing. I know we're going to go through like the different parts of the special and everything, but is, like Jamie mentioned, just like the reactiveness of this compared to what people have said since the trailer and before the trailer, right? About like, why is this being made, which Lithgow specifically addressed. Then you have like finding out about, Papa Eseudu's like background and like relationship with, and a few different people's relationships with the material, and really trying to drive home the idea that these are people who really care about the books, really care about Harry Potter, like to reassure everyone. But that makes me worried a little bit, because there is so much money involved. Is how reactionary are they going to be? Is it going to be like, oh, if people are really like, learning more about McGonagall's background, then we're going to spend huge chunks of future seasons, learning about these adults, and like I said, kind of losing the
I don't think they'll have time.
No, I think this book is actually primed for them to show like Nicholas Flamel, who plays into the Philosopher's Stone. It's very season specific, and that's what I wonder if they'll do. So they'll try and isolate these seasons. Like, it'll get more serialized as we go, but they'll try and tell these contained stories. Also, there's rumored that we're going to see Hermione and everyone else get their letter. I'm like, that doesn't, to me, add a new storyline, and it doesn't take away from what's going on. It is something to be simple and additive. Now, they couldn't do that if they're going to try and keep, say, Word of the Phoenix as an 8 episode series, they're not going to be able to add all that much because you're working with 3-4 times the material, and now you've built in, you're actually heading towards something. But now is the time to maybe make that all pay off, because you're going to flesh these out just a little bit more with the extra time that you do have.
I'm mostly concerned that they're going to take away from the mystery of things. Like that, like showing Flamel too much is taking away from the mystery, showing Dumbledore too much, which I feel like that is going to be part of it, and I just need to accept.
Well, they
And,
want
like
to
the
tell
kids
it a
and stuff, I
different
don't mind as
way.
much.
Also, I
They
will
do,
say,
but spoiler alert for upcoming books.
every time I read and watch The Prisoner of Azkaban, every time I hope that Harry gets to go live with Sirius and that they catch Pettigrew in the moment. Pettigrew, that's his couple name with him and his self.
His alter ego.
But like there is a built-in tension, and some people won't know the story. And I think that is the question: is how much is this going to bring a new generation in? Hannah actually was pointing out, and maybe this is because I talk about theme parks too much. She was like, "What is this going to be if kids fall in love with the book series through this, and then they go to the parks and it's very different?" Because even if Hogwarts is only a little bit different, you can't change Diagon Alley the way it is in Universal Studios Orlando. Like you can't we now know for a fact what Diagon Alley looks like. Turns out the leaks were right for the most part. And it's just the story's going to have to evolve. It's like how the comic book version of Marvel is different from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think fans can hold those two things in their head, but I do think from someone who's not obsessed like we are, it is a good point. Sometimes that lack of cohesiveness, people kind of brush aside Spider-Man because they're like, oh, which Spider-Man are they on now?
Yeah.
Another British one?
But
gosh.
I do think enough time has passed. It's been 30 years since the books came out. I think, right? 30 years?
That can't be
Or 25
possible.
years.
It's the first book came out, yeah.
Yeah, 97. So 29 years.
So, yeah. I mean, I feel like it hasn't been done too much. She never allowed for like there to be a children's, like illustrated, like Foley edition. That's like what was a big push, like in the very beginning that they made. She's been very careful about how she was things. And I mean, we all have our theories about why she's allowing this to happen now. When you asked earlier about this happening now, I think it's also because JK has approved it happening.
Yeah,
I'm sure people have been asking to do series for a long time. And I do think there's been this resurgence of millennials becoming adults and like talking about the passion for Harry Potter. And that's kind of brought it back. Like I think binge mode and stuff was a big part of that because there was like this realization that like, oh, we all are still kind of into Harry Potter like all these years later. But I do think there's this weird thing. And I forgot to say earlier when I was talking about the special, they did also keep mentioning like, oh, we're doing this for the next generation. But I'm like, the trailer didn't necessarily feel like it was for the next generation. So
True.
I just wonder where they're actually at. But
it'd be interesting to see if they're reactive and if they do try and have more of a playful, lighter side as we continue on. I have actually seen fan edits. I think I sent you guys one of people literally just brightening the frame. And I'm like, I don't think that's as indicative of an issue. It's the tone, because even if you have a lighter frame, is the tone of Harry going through, and are we seeing the mystery through his eyes? Are we enjoying that being so, or are we getting a little bit of a colder mystery for the millennials with just more details and whatnot? But I think overall they said the right things, even if it was manipulative in a way. It was emotionally manipulative, and you know what, it worked because Jamie cried and I got a little bit of emotion. I don't know if the music we're getting is anything we're actually going to get from there, but I'm like, you know what? No offense to the great composers of our time, but musical manipulation in film is not the most difficult thing. Like building tension with music, giving you certain feelings. Like maybe I'm just an easy target, but I just thought this is already working. I don't know. Did Hans Zimmer do this? Probably not. All right, let's dive in. Like we don't need to go. There's only so much because right there, like showing these interviews and they're kind of breezing through these different bits and they're using a lot of emotion and slowing down some moments. But casting was the first section.
Yeah. Okay, first before we start, did you guys think this was supposed to be a longer thing and they made just this little snippet to throw out of it? Because they clearly filmed a lot of stuff. And none of the major people are in this. Like, I don't want to say, okay, obviously, like the production designer, that's major, but like Francesca's not in it. None of the directors are in it.
There's no there's no Mark Malad, there's no Francesca, no one from the writing staff. The David Heyman is producing it, isn't he? He's not in it.
I think he's just like a name.
He's just a name attached. But they have to be saving something. Again, this is something.
So I think more will come out. I think this is just a piece of like what we'll be getting. Sorry.
And they're going to, I wonder if more's going to come out before or if they're saving a big one for after. And they're also going to do that HBO after the episode thing, aren't they? So there's definitely tons of BTS filming because they know they can get material out of it.
Well, and just like the first thought, so when talking about casting, they talked about just casting the trio. They did talk about more than 40,000 submissions, which is crazy. I'm like, isn't that like every child in
There
the UK?
40,000 kids that are the right age and high and in England that want to act.
Well, there was Mitchell's audition when he was trying to play 12. It was cute.
Hello, Governor. It's a Tuesday at Hogwarts.
But I didn't like, they didn't talk about any of the adults in that casting process. And I'm sure that's also, they probably didn't want to start talking about like Papa and, you know, like all that kind of stuff. But everything was really like cute and simple and sweet. So it was nice to see. I got teary-eyed when they were talking about the descriptions of the characters because I thought that was really good. But even watching Dominic's tape and everything, and obviously I feel like they were just looking for good actors that could play the part. I'm like, this is not Harry Potter.
Well, it's interesting because they didn't tell us exactly what their method was, but they're kind of like, oh, this is the story portion, like this is the interview portion. Like it was clear that they kind of had an idea what they wanted to do to get to know these kids individually. So they probably did more of a character read, more of a personal, and she did say at the end, she's like, we needed a 10-year-old who could act, which, so for whatever else he brings and, you know, whatever he's going to do for his accent, in the end, they needed someone who kind of had that. And everything else from Dominic so far looks delightful.
Well, and they did talk a little bit about like the kids' actual personalities and things and how they kind of played into it, which I thought is important because it's like Daniel Radcliffe talks about this, right? Is that when he started playing Harry Potter, he was just himself reading Harry Potter's lines, right? He didn't like know how to like put himself and like create the character and all that stuff. Yeah. So much of it when you're that young is just, you know, being yourself. And so I thought that was a good way to kind of lean into it and find kids who are gonna, I don't know, naturally fit into some of those roles and key aspects of them at least, right? Because not all of them have the same family situations and stuff like that. But they were able to convey those things pretty well, which made them fit the role. I'm excited to see more of them because we haven't actually got to see them act in a single scene yet. Like they have like lines and they interact with each other and stuff. So maybe that'll be next week's special that comes out.
It is
We need to go watch all their stuff.
That we've heard Arabella do the audiobooks for 3 full books. Like we have heard her voice a ton. But I think this will feel really disconnected from that. But it is such a fascinating that, we didn't get to see much actual line reading from them. Even this, you know, they had Jenna McTeer, Lithgow, Papa, Nick Frost. I keep wanting to call him Hagrid already. What a compliment. But they weren't really showing the kids all that much, which you shouldn't. Another thing I did notice weirdly more prominently here than trailer is how tall Locks Pratt is. And someone said he's 14 where the other kids are 12. And I didn't remember him being that much older, which it's kind of fine because he's a bully. But there is a weird thing where if someone his puberty is late, like in book 3, he could look like an adult and someone else could still look like they're a second year, you know?
Or maybe he'll level off and they'll, you don't know.
That is very possible.
Use that CGI to de-age him and put all the other kids on Apple boxes all the time, you know, to get them up there.
Someone like the little Neville kid looks so young. Like he looks so little. But that's how it is when you're that age.
Yeah, it does. It varies.
And I did like the part of the casting, but this was more throughout. Like you just talked about, Mitchell, like the interview with the adult actors, Lithgow and Papa Sidhu and Janet McTeer. It was sweet because they were really kind of talking about the kids. Lithgow mentioned how old he is. Steven's biggest concern.
He did. He was like, I'll be done when I'm 88. I think you're going to be more like 90, 92.
Film those scenes now, homie. Film them now.
Well, remember, he doesn't have to be in the last one. So, I mean, a little bit. They pre-record that. But it was nice to hear their perspective of like seeing everything and like the kids. And I love, even in like some other interviews Papa's done, because he's like our age, aka younger than us, I think. But like his love for Harry Potter and like what it meant to him, I cried at that part because I think it's so sweet that like he loved these books as a child and now he gets to play in them and see everything. Like he was talking about seeing the Hogwarts Express for the first time. I'm like, that's awesome.
That was a running theme, is that like people who are our age and got to grow up with this, like if you think Harry Potter came out when I was 6, the movie came out when I was like 8 or 9. And now I am of the age where like I could have been doing any number of roles within this, not from an acting perspective, but like from a production perspective. It is a whole different approach. And the people who were working on those movies could be, 20, 30 years older. It is a new generation creating the story. So yeah, on the production and design front,
Which I feel like was most of it.
it was, which I think is what I expected. And I think for
I did
us,
too.
we are like somewhat film nerds. I think that was interesting to see for us. From a fan of Harry Potter perspective, I wanted to pause a lot and be like, okay, what are we seeing here from Hogwarts and Diagon Alley? And
Props, the chocolate frog.
they were careful at what they showed an intro, I'm sure.
Those look slimy.
Now, the Hogwarts crest I already complained to you guys about. It looks like a lowercase h. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
It's ugly.
It looks like a change to a different font.
First
but
complaint.
I did first complaint ugly. We mentioned this, one of you mentioned this when they in the trailer, how like there was like the tree, like the almost like the roots of the tree and stuff, and that is a very big theme apparently, is like nature and how that works,
they
which is
went into that a
lot
lot.
of the history. Yeah.
Well, the
So which I
naturalistic,
find
that is a
interesting.
different feeling from the films, absolutely, I think.
Yes.
Like
100%.
they went into the costuming quite deep and just talked about how they were making wizards feel peculiar and different. And we've always talked about that. Like, well, what's, they kind of gave up on that in the movies eventually. The adults were just kind of holding different muggle clothes under their robes, which isn't that what you would do. But I like in this, they're kind of showing variants where it's like clearly most wizards do have to live in some proximity to muggles, and like that world exists parallel to theirs. And so the way that they use muggle elements but keep it quirky, it did look like there's gonna be a lot more of a unique style to the adult clothing. And it was
some
well
of it
thought
actually
out.
reminded me of there was like a leather jacket that really reminded me of that guy who's like the Snatcher in Deathly Hallows Part 1. Like there was something that kind of seemed like they could have worked in. And then they talked about trying to capture the 90s, which I think they've done pretty well. I laughed a little bit about like they showed Privet Drive and there's that photo with the frames. You remember you had the picture and then the frames within like of the oval and that one. I was like, that's so a 90s thing. But then also I'm like, I didn't live in the UK in the 90s, so I don't know exactly how everyone dressed.
And we were, a different age. We were seeing people differently, but just the thought that they seemed to be putting into all the different elements. And they talked about like recreating like a hand-me-down t-shirt that actually, from that time for Harry. Because I've kind of come in, I thought his clothes could be a little bit bigger and run down looking coming from Dudley and everything. But even if like that's the professional thing to do, they're not doing anything special. I think them showing it is convincing enough that even if we're skeptical, it's a good sign. And the costumes do look different enough for the most part. Some of them are the way that they're, supposed to look because that's what they were meant to be. Were there any costumes or sets or glimpses at anything that kind of really stuck out to you from a production side?
There was I was surprised as you dig in more and more and you get flashes of additional sets and scenes and stuff, and just how different it is. I think we talked about it with the trailer. It's just kind of like some of those interior Hogwarts scenes where you just have it's so different. And not in a bad way, but I thought about the park thing you mentioned as well, Mitchell. Was like, are they gonna go try and like redress all this at some point to match the series? I guess it could depend on which one becomes a little bit more of like the defining production design. But it was nice to just see so much of it and see how it all I don't know how it ties together. I think you definitely can feel all of the references they're making to nature. Like everything is kind of rooted in like these naturalistic approaches, which I think is cool. I think that's a good way to look at it. I think with the movies, it feels a little bit more like medieval when you think of kind of the architecture and like blockiness of things and stuff. And so they're going for something with a different flow. So I love seeing all of that. But it is very different production designs. You talked about the new Hogwarts crest. I mean, we got glimpses of new logos for platform 9 3/4.
Very different, yeah.
I think the Hogsmeade sign. So like a lot of those, I think like there's T-shirts with stuff like that sold at the parks. Right, there's candy with it. We saw the new Bertie Bott's every flavor means kind of what those boxes and design will look like. So there's gonna be a new version of everything, which is both exciting and annoying because like my little collection back here is gonna be
outdated.
Maybe I'm like,
but in a way, it's cool. It's retro.
Well, now you get to add to it.
Here's some things I saw people take screenshots of, and even maybe I'll repost this on Instagram. Wizarding World Direct has done side by side. So the chocolate frog. The frog looks more real. It kind of opens a little bit differently. The Hogsmeade Railway crest looks, so dramatically different. The snitch, honestly, kind of looks very similar to me. They say it's different. I don't know. Yeah, the Hogwarts crest being a lowercase h, I'm just never going to understand it.
And what was in the trailer? Don't we see on their robes the H with the roots?
Yeah, like
so it's interesting that there's
roots,
two.
So
different Thanks.
I wonder what this is, because then, it does have all 4 animals. They're just differently shaped. We're going to have to examine that one. We get to see some Halloween decorations. We get to see Birdie Bot's Everly Favorite Dean's, like a kind of a triangular prism box. Yeah, we get to see the whole cart, apparently.
The butterbeer things look kind of cool.
Butterbeer kind of looks like old milk. No, like
Well, yeah, the
us
butterbeer
milk
bottles
things
is
are
very
just
They
different.
look like old milk.
easy thing for them to put in the parks and not to feel too out of place, because I would buy that. Now, the big one is people think that when we see this shot of Professor McGonagall, it looks like she's outside of a Muggle house. So maybe she's bringing Hermione her letter. Gringotts looks very different in that the columns are straight. It's not as whimsical.
Keith?
Hogwarts jumpers, Harry's robes, which we'd kind of already talked about. The broomsticks, actually, the broomstick close-up that they had here, they look even more different from kind of what we were seeing in the trailer.
Yeah, I wondered if those were like actual brooms. I don't know. They look so different.
We get a glimpse at Peeves at Dumbledore's office. You get herbology. You can really see Hannah Abbott, Justin Flinchley, and Susan Bones. A couple times we get to see Neville. Like, yeah, those are just a few of the things that people pointed out that really stood out if you were really going frame by frame and wanted to pull out what you were thinking about.
Can I complain about one other thing?
Yeah.
Real fast,
Yeah.
just about the crest. Because, yes, it's lowercase h, which looks weird. But the badger is bigger than the lion. I'm looking at right now. And that is not how things work, unless
Must be
somebody
a
really
honey.
engorged that crap to be the size of a lion. But just
Well,
saying.
For the movies, wasn't Ravenclaw, wasn't it like an eagle or something
When
instead
it's
of
supposed to be a raven or vice versa or something.
It was
Yeah,
something
looks
like
much
that,
more.
yeah.
And they use like silver instead of bronze, so it was a little bit. So there's some things that they're fixing in there, which is good. But also, I'm a
Artistic.
little annoyed by that crest. I hope that's not the final.
They're gonna go change that.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah,
this podcast.
not approved by Steven. Go fix it. Jeez.
I was gonna say I liked they showed a lot of the animatronics from the animals, and I thought that was
There's a
so
big
cool.
emphasis, yeah.
Like scabbers, but also there's flobber worms in that scene. They show the what else was it? Not the blast-ended screw, the
Fire crabs.
fire, like things we don't see till the future. So what I was going to say about the production design and everything overall is like the one thing I think we all said at the very beginning of this podcast that we hope from this series is consistency, because we do not get consistency in the movies, especially as a book reader. Like, even though we knew it was going to be different, it was like from movie to movie things were different, and that happens with direction and stuff like that. But that's the nice thing about a TV series is there's like hopefully a showrunner throughout who keeps everything consistent. And so it looks like they're already planning ahead. I mean, maybe they'll have those things in the background.
Yeah.
But like just to know, like we already know what a flobber worm looks like. So when we get to like book 3, we've already established that. That's what's getting me most excited is like I didn't really imagine everything in this like naturey way, although it's a really cool interpretation of it. But I appreciate that there's some consistency throughout with it. And even the wardrobe, like how, and I'm not saying I'm sure it was for the movies, obviously, but it's like so thought out, and they have the money to really think it out, and they know for a fact that they're, well, hopefully, unless it completely bombs, that they're making the whole story. So they know off the bat, like, okay, we can keep this consistent throughout, and hopefully everyone survives. John.
I said this before because I think for me it's really important. Like you get to certain books and they reference this thing. Oh yeah, this was always there. You just didn't notice it. And in a book where you don't see things unless they're described, that's one thing. But when you're talking about a visual medium, like a movies and TV shows, yeah, if they're gonna go through a magical creature shop of any kind, like there should be like it makes sense for there to be a fire crab in the corner and walk past some flower worms and these different creatures that do exist, and we don't focus on them until the 3rd book, but they're around. And so, yeah, you said, it's good to know that they are planning that ahead of time. And those things are not just ready to go when they get to that 3rd movie. Because, I mean, that means they're making the investment now, right? Which is also cool because I think it reduces that risk of us not getting later seasons. But that we get the attention to detail and those the focus on it now.
Well, and also like J.K. famously did not tell them anything that hadn't been out in the books yet besides Alan Rickman. And now she can't hold anything back. Like we have the established whole story. And I mean, maybe that was also because it hadn't been written yet. She didn't know everything. And even though she claimed she didn't know exactly what was going to happen to every character. And so now like everyone knows where their character is going to end up. Everybody knows like what spells are going to be implemented when, which is I think a plot hole in the books that like some spells we don't hear about the spell until we need it. And then it's like, well, looking back at this book, why wasn't that spell used? So I'm hoping some of that stuff can at least be like explained, or at least you hear someone use Accio in book one, just because you would be using that
Well, you're
spell
right.
all
It
the time.
really does signal that that stuff is being planned, right? That it's
There was
included
like
in the
a spell of the book every book.
blueprint.
It was like
Yeah, it
Osseo
was.
in 4, Stupefy in 5. Yeah. Wingardium Leviosa and the
Alohomora and
Alohomora in
Wingardium
the first
Leviosa in
one.
one.
I remember because the video games had to make up spells because they didn't have any, like Stupendo. That was a video game invention. I can't get over the Hogwarts crest. I keep looking at it, and there's also this capital H with like roots coming out of it in the trailer.
Yeah,
So
That's the one that's on their
on the shirt.
robes, I
yeah,
think.
so
'cause
why
we
do we
saw
have
that
this
from the
other one in
trailer.
that? I'm going to need to understand. So something the Spider-Man trailer was famous for when it came to the one that had all the cameos from the other Spider-Man, spoiler alert, was
No Way Home.
No Way Home. They in the trailer they had fight scenes where they digitally removed the other Spider-Man. And in this new Spider-Man trailer for whatever the next one's called,
I saw that.
there's clearly like someone digitally removed. We know there's going to be cameos and whatnot. And I'm wondering, is there anything digitally like they're obviously not doing a lot of the CG for this yet, or they are, but it's not ready for a trailer or anything. Is there something they've removed to not show us? But they can't change the crest that's shown up in 5 places between these two mediums. Anyway, I'm off the crest.
I also want to say about them throwing this stuff out there. I think especially HBO, ever since Game of Thrones, like they've been doing podcasts and putting out these little special things. I don't think this is totally off base for HBO. It's all still surprising because we weren't expecting the show already at Christmas.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where have you guys been? I guess kind of that this is, but at least it's like well produced and made.
Yeah, I think there is excitement building. I think there's people are knowing that this is happening. I think there's all good things like SNL. Then they did a spoof with
Hilarious.
an actor playing Black Snape, and then I think that's the right direction because at this point, like we said a long time ago, as soon as cast, we're like, it is what it is. We can talk about why like that changes this or that and why like I think they're legit concerns, but then everybody was horrible about it. And so I think we rightly went into like, well, we're just going to support this because it is what it is now. And I think SNL made fun of it in like the perfect way to be like, well, here's the concerns, but it is what it is. And like, this is cool. And this is our Snape
Well,
now.
like, get
So
used to it now, right? Like, let everyone process it now, so when they see it on screen, it won't be a shock. They're not going to be outraged then, right? They'll be able to get into the story. I think it's a good tactic.
so he's
Well,
yeah.
I think Colin Joust, isn't he known as like being a Harry Potter fan? So I think that was
Yeah.
like added to it.
He did. He made some reference back in one of the jokes that was like, it wasn't a deep cut, but I was like, you wouldn't have said that if you, or I mean, someone else obviously could have written it, but he is the head writer. Like he did bring out a nice Harry Potter deep cut. So it's exciting. Yeah. I think overall this is cool. We know we'll start getting stuff again in September, October, but are we going to get a long period now with nothing? What else are they going to do? Because they didn't name this part 1, or like they can't do Finding Harry : blah blah blah. Can they? I don't know. Maybe they'll do Finding Hogwarts. I don't know. Finding
Dumbledore next.
Well,
Finding
it's like
Nemo.
they like are the day before or whatever, like 2 days before, they're like, this is coming out. And we're like, oh. Like, so that also tells you that
Is that
the
a good
audience
strategy?
is there.
I don't know.
I don't know if it is, but it does tell you, like, I mean, we all dropped it and watched. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're doing the podcast, but I think the people are there. But I don't know. It kind of felt like this reassurance, like people are gonna watch this, and like
I think you're
putting
right,
the
though. I think
effort
it's a
into
good
it.
testing ground. If they're going to say, hey, we're going to release this, little special,
Right.
which turns out to be just a 28-minute thing. How many people dropped everything on Easter, which is, people got family over, they're all doing stuff. Who made that fit their schedule? Like, they can see those numbers. How many people already watched it? How many people watched it 5 times like I did?
I want to see
All those kinds of things, right? And so I think that'll help them continue to test that. But I think there's a lot of other nuggets to drop. If they're going to keep doing 15 or 20-minute like special kind of things like this, it could probably get one every 2 weeks. And then, you're a little bit more about casting over here, or, Quidditch. They could do a whole sports one just around Quidditch and the flying and how they're approaching that differently or something.
They're getting more done, right? Like I presume they're coming to a close on production of season 1. We always kind of said it could go into summer, but now that we know it's coming Christmas, probably not. So if they're getting post done for one episode, what are we going to get? I wouldn't even be surprised if they're like, watch the first 5 minutes or watch this excerpt as we get a little bit closer. So HBO Max just launched in the UK last month, and the trailer was a big part of that launch. There was a lot of stuff going on around London with some bits, but they don't have this immense library because HBO has contracted so many of its shows to Sky here, which is the big main cable carrier here, but they also have always had all the big HBO shows, including Thrones. So weirdly, my brother-in-law was like, yeah, we have HBO and Max now. I was like, I haven't met a single person yet who like, what's the need for HBO Max right now? And they just do it to watch reruns of Friends. Hey,
Hey,
it's good.
As a worthy goal.
The Office carried
good reason.
Netflix for a long time before they took that off there. I think
Shoot,
Friends
this
too.
is-
Wasn't Friends on Netflix for a while?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Friends
and
was there for a long
here
time.
Friends and The Office were until recently, so it's interesting. It is really important, I think, to their bottom line, which is interesting because they're in the process of being acquired. So
Well, and I think that's part of why like they're doing Harry Potter stuff. Is like this nostalgia thing is real, and they're playing off of that. Our generation, we were raised on television. We weren't. I mean, we had a lot of social media eventually, but like, we are TV kids, and they're like, let's get this. Let's get this. Why we
Well,
have these kids?
talk about the investment
adults.
because they said it's hard to separate. We're going to build these massive sets of music again and again. We're putting a school in. We're doing all this infrastructure. What's the true per episode cost? It's hard to measure that out, but they have put a massive investment in. We know they're doing the first 2 seasons. I know that's not official, but we know writing is happening, action is happening toward the second one. It would have to do so bad, and it really seems like there is enough momentum. But yeah, how much is that going to really drive it forward? And speaking of money on the special, the scale did look really impressive. You know, it is what they wanted us to see, how they wanted us to see it. But the scale of the castle and the sets and Diagon Alley, they did seem to be using volume for outside of the Hogwarts Express. But hey, it looks better than green screen. It looks better
But that's
than,
how you should use it. Like it shouldn't be your whole background.
yeah, and it looked good. And again, it's a handy way to do it. And then, of course, the closing shot is the Hogwarts Express going out of the full size King's Cross set, which they showed quite a bit. So I'm like, I don't know if that's accurate to the early 90s. Sure, why not?
They worked hard on that because they keep showing that.
I was there a few weeks ago. It didn't look like that.
And then, but at the end, through the credits, they had more people standing there talking about their relation to the eventual movies. So that I don't
My
know. That just kind of
mother's
felt
cousin's doctor was in the first movie.
There were a couple different parts of it where it felt like they were like kind of pretending the movies didn't happen, and then there were direct references, which I think is kind of what you have to do. You know?
Yeah. But I was actually more surprised they didn't. I mean, Papa did, and one chick it was at least alluded to. Like they didn't show a lot more of like actual readers. It was a lot like my dad worked on the movies, or I worked on the movies, or my son loves the books. I thought, I mean, maybe they will eventually just be like, I loved the books, and that's where this is coming from. But even though I knew they were playing that up, I'm crying because I'm like, yeah, because we talked about this the first ever episode. This is our inner child, like being fulfilled. We loved these books. This was our escape. Like I was a very shy, lonely kid. I could relate to Hermione in a way, Harry in a way, Ron in a way. It was my escape. Like I have dealt with anxiety my whole life. And so like I would listen to Harry Potter or read the Harry Potter books. And so it's just so integral to so many of us that, yeah, I know I'm being played, but I'm going to buy into being played because I love it.
Think about all of the other movies, book series, TV shows. I think there are very few that people can say were the most important piece of media relationship of their childhood. Like I'm sure for some people it's Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, or it's something more niche and you were kind of part of a smaller community. Because I know Harry Potter, like we felt like we were in there, we were in whatever community there was, but it was massive. And I think it can't be overstated that it was our nerd thing. It was our obsession.
Well, and I will say, like Papa Cito said a thing about how, you know, like everyone was reading it. It was such a thing, but it was so personal because he even talks about, he's like, you don't talk to your friends about it because you don't want spoilers or find out what's going to happen. So there is this difference too, different than like Star Wars, for example, which is like a visual medium. I mean, and Harry Potter obviously quickly became that. But for us as readers, it was so personal. And I feel like at that time, social media wasn't as big of a thing. So we knew everyone was reading it and this was happening. But it was like maybe you talked about it in your friend group or our family, obviously, we were all into it. But it still was your thing, how you imagined it, how you saw things. Wasn't like everything's a shared experience now. And Harry Potter, I know it sounds crazy. It was a shared experience, but at the same time, it was very personal to each of us. And so it is that kind of thing where you love it, but it's almost kind of scary to talk about it because everyone has differing opinions. And then now Harry Potter is controversial. And should you like it? Should you support it? But it's taking it back to that base of our childhood. So it's really hard, but I don't think there's anything else
Yeah.
really like it. Like,
I
I think
think
Lord of the Rings might be the closest.
there's something about it being a book series. Obviously, it turned into a film series really quickly, which did grab a different audience, right? But Star Wars being movies only, and there were only 3 for a very long time. And even if you got really into the expanded universe and then the prequels and those books as it came out, that becomes such a more scattered, segmented thing. And this is also literally about a kid growing up. Like, it is a coming of age story in a lot of ways. Whereas, like, a lot of people know this, Frodo's an old dude by the time he goes on that adventure. I can't remember if he's 30 or he's 50. Obviously, Hobbit years work different, but he's not. Like, it is different.
Innocent.
And it came out, a long time before. The relationship with the community are quite different. And I think, yeah, being in your own mind, that is more of a book thing. And what other book series have been anywhere nearly as popular? Like, there's some that are important to people, but
Yeah.
they're even like something like Twilight was much more of like a teen romance moment. Like, you're invested in it, but didn't have this
And
story
post
to it.
Potter.
And it was
All
post
post Potter.
it was post Potter.
There's evidence that children's books were dying off in a way, especially like more in-depth children's novels. Harry Potter literally changed the landscape. So it was a phenomenon. For like younger people, I don't think they fully understand like what Harry Potter did. And we all grew up with it. And now it just feels like so many series and stuff have come after. And obviously there's great ones from before, but it was just such a starter of this whole new thing, especially in the fantasy world, that like you couldn't ever duplicate it. I mean, no one has yet since.
Yeah.
I feel like they definitely tried, but it was like the whole canon. I mean, video games were getting really huge, right? There was just so much more around like television and film. And I remember not many of my friends were readers. Like, there were a couple of book series I read when I was younger. But when like Harry Potter was a book series where all my friends who didn't really read books, they were reading Harry Potter. And so when you'd have those big releases and like no one would talk to each other about, I remember distinctly it happening with books 4 and 5, and like specifically like, don't talk to me about that. Like, I don't want, like you said in the special, right? Like, I don't want to know what happened. Don't want to know if you're ahead of me or not. But everyone was reading it, right? And so I think, yeah, it did just bring back this approach of where you said we all kind of have our own interpretation, different ways we imagine the characters or the settings or any of that, but we're all following on in the same story. And I think of others that have done that since. I mean, you mentioned a few, but I think of Hunger Games. I think
Mhm.
of Divergent in that series. Like, there's a lot of these where being caught up on the newest book series for like young adult series in particular was a thing. It was something we all focused our energy on it. So then when you take it to the next level
Yeah.
with the movies and now
Well,
this, it's
I think
YA,
it's
like,
funny how much
yeah.
patience we used to have a lot of patience because like Mitchell would read the book in one night and then it took me forever to read the books.
I
And then like
I couldn't not know, which almost kind of ruined it. I almost should have savored being a Beeb in that new moments in that world time and time again. But I still got all the enjoyment out of it.
but you didn't have to like run and talk to someone about it. Like back then we read it and then we just held on to it until there was someone to talk to.
Well,
Now it's like I finished the book and I'm like, did you guys read this yet? What do you guys think?
I remember after book 6, Nikki Kelly, who like I knew was a friend of our sister's, like a family friend, but
Like 5 years older
so
than
much
you.
more, like 8 years older than 9 years older than me. Like, we were the only two who'd finished it, so we called, and she kind of spoiled not spoiled, but she was like, I think RAB is this, and I was like, oh dang, you're right. But it was just, yeah, there was only, but I was so excited. Yeah, I didn't need to talk. Well, I wanted to talk to other people about it, but I didn't need to spoil it. I was
You
excited
had
watching
to
other
like
people learn about it. But yeah, going to the midnight releases for 5 and 6 especially were like very seminal moments, and I started reading absolutely immediately. And 7, I remember I was being driven the next day to another state, and I hadn't finished it yet because obviously, and I get car sick when I read, so I wore those car sick bracelets. And I read it. I finished reading it on the way, and then I had the CDs. So then we immediately started listening to it. Anyway, there's hundreds of memories like that, though. That is just, it's important. So we're excited for this, and hopefully it captures that feeling, because even the films did in a way, and it's not a fraction of what the books did. Well, it is a fraction. That's rude. It's part of what the books did, to the point where we did, have a certain fondness for those, and just to get to see maybe an expansion on that through a medium that we do love. It is very
But I
exciting.
think that's part of the genius, right, of them dropping, like I said, all these kind of nuggets or specials and things along the way, is because there were a lot of people when we were younger who really enjoyed it when we were enjoying it, right? And we all had our nerd out moments when we talked about the books and what was coming out or going to the midnight release parties. But most of those people are not as big a nerds as we are, and so they live their lives and they don't even think about or talk about Harry Potter anymore, and we do. But like the release is a little special, and then you see the trailer, and all these people are remembering, like, "Oh yeah, no, I remember back when that was exciting," and it's getting everybody primed to, pay for HBO Max, right? But then to see where this goes, and to like I said, spend lots of money on merch because we are that prime advertising demographic, right? We are the target audience
Yeah.
for everything that they sell nowadays because we actually have like come and this, and so they're gonna lean hard on that. There's gonna be all kinds of stuff directed at our age bracket, which I'm excited about, and I'm a little concerned about for my wall.
Well, I did see like a guy who had collected like all the wands that had come out on TikTok, and he's got like all even the originals from the parks and stuff. He's like, I already saw a wand in the trailer that's different. I've got to start all over again. Yeah, it'll be interesting because, like, do I want one of those butterbeer things immediately? Yes, I do.
I want the chocolate frog.
But yeah, were there any other? Well, I didn't even hate the production design of the movies. I should say I didn't think that was a weak spot at all for the films, but it
No.
is nice to see of a different take because you can alter it just that much and bring that feeling back from the books. Was there anything else you guys saw in the special, or are there any theories you have on what we're gonna get next coming up here that we need to revisit before we go?
I don't know. I feel like that was a small part of something bigger. They clearly like sat down and filmed something with all these people. Didn't seem like it was rushed. So like I feel like this was somewhatly planned and like something that they're filming as they are making the show. I think they're done shooting the show. I think it's all post now. And I think we're gonna move on to hearing more about Chamber and what's going on there. The next part is like once they get further along in editing, we'll start seeing more clips of things with like actual magic because I feel like that they're gonna want to pull that element in of like we're gonna wow you, hopefully.
I don't know if there's been any other true news or official stuff, but a binge drop had kind of been discussed. It seems like that is definitely not happening now, which is the correct decision. Don't binge drop this. And yeah, other people were talking about how long people are. What do you mean we're not going to get a season a year? They promised. I was like, didn't they always say 10 years for 7
They
seasons?
always
Which always that seems ambitious to me. I think it's going to take at least 12 years to get 7 seasons, and I'm hoping the later seasons are a little bit longer. So if they have to release them 5 and 5, I'm okay with that. But those are some
But
things
if there
floating
are
out.
2 seasons that are like the story is shorter and simpler and can be done closer together, it's 1 and 2, and arguably 3. So, like, if we could get, Christmas of this year and maybe Christmas or, Q1 of 2028 or something, just a year out, like, I think that would be it would get more people involved, like, addicted to it, to be perfectly honest. And then
well, and
we deal with some of those longer waits later on.
we know some of the rumors have been wrong, but there have been a few rumors that they were trying to get 1 and 2 out as quickly as possible. And I'm just guessing that's for age of the kids, be
Yeah,
puberty,
locks
and
is get
also they're
going.
he's gone. Just the simplicity of those stories. I mean, they're still complex, but not as complex as what you start getting 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. I was just looking to see if there's any other little droplets we missed, but it's just people nerding out about the little details, like they're zooming in on the stuff in Harry's cupboard. And that's the thing, like we didn't go into those little details. And I'm sure like I've only watched it the once because we had guests staying with us for over a Easter weekend and we were really busy. So I'm excited to watch it again. And then, yeah, I'm not going to go frame by frame, but I do want to look into the details. And I think that is exciting to have something to nerd out over, to pour into. And I'm sure people will be critical like I was of the crest. But I'm not going to love everything perfectly. Okay. But I can't believe we got that so soon. It will be interesting to see if we get more of the directors and the showrunners and stuff in the next one. There maybe, Francesca's busy on post. She's looking at those edits, but the marketing team is working overtime. And so this was exciting. But if you enjoyed our chat, we wanted to jump right into it today. But you can follow us at HPTVPod on all socials or email us at hptvpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, we'd love for you to be part of our community, which hopefully is just going to keep surging as we head towards Christmas, which all of a sudden doesn't feel that crazy far away. What time am I going to have to stay up to watch this? I can't be behind
You
you
got to be
guys.
on it.
Oh my God.
Me and Steven are going to have to do our own podcast talking about it when Mitchell.
Oh, I'm going to be irate.
We'll have to do a live instant reaction, and Mitchell will be doing it.
Looks like you
4 in the
guys got to
morning.
come to London for Christmas. Go start playing the lottery now.
Hey, you pay. We're
I
there.
just saw Riverside has this option that's like, do you want to record with someone who's in the room with you? And I was like, oh, how'd that work? It's a pro option, so we'd have to upgrade. Anyway, thanks for joining us. And we will be back with news, with notes, as it seems like we're going to keep getting awesome information. But Jamie, send us out.
Peace out, snitches.